Hey guys, welcome to my presentation. I chose the plugin Tooltipster, and so what Tooltipster is it's just a stylish and useful tooltips that you can add to your page. So let's go ahead and get started. So what is Tooltipster? Like I said before, just simple, easy jQuery plugin. It allows you to add, stylish tooltips. You can also do different things with your tooltips that we'll talk about later. Like you can create links, you can add images, and there's other things that if you check out the Tooltipster website, which I'll include the link below, you can see all the different things that it offers and different things you can do with it. Tooltipster is actually supported by Chrome, Firefox, Opera, Safari, and Internet Explorer 6 and up. So just to start off, I'll talk about some of the tooltip themes that you have. If you saw before in the first slide, the tooltip that popped up, it was a light, kind of a dark text with a shadow around it. So that was one of the themes that I used. I used clearly the shadow theme here. But we also have a default theme, a light theme, a borderless theme. I don't know if you noticed, but the default seems to have like a lighter background with a dark border, whereas borderless is just a solid color all the way through. Then we have one of my favorites, which is Punk, which gives that bottom border and arrow a different color than the actual tooltip itself. We have, I don't know how to pronounce this, but I believe it's Snor, which is just a white and black solid outline, very square. Then of course Shadow, which is the one I used. And I also created a custom tooltip that included some of the theme's colors. I just added a darker background so you could notice the difference and it didn't kind of look just transparent. So how I created this is I created a new style sheet, and just for namesake I named it the same way as the rest of the Tooltipster themes so it would be easier to use. You can name it whatever you want and create it however you want. I just named it custom, and I used one of the CSS files from the themes, and I just changed the colors basically. So here, I changed the background of the box. Then this is the border color. This changes the text. And here is just building the arrow, so you really don't have to change anything there unless maybe you want a different type of arrow. Maybe you want a bigger arrow, you want a smaller arrow. That's where you could change that. And then these next ones, even though they are borders, they're actually the fill color for the arrow. And then here you also have more borders, but here it's actually the defining lines of the arrow. So it's what gives it that dark line so you can see where it pops out. If you notice here how you have the two borders right there, left and right, and then you have the fill color, which is the same as the background, which are the other borders, even though they're really fills. So that's what we have here, and that's how you can create a custom class. You can use any of your own colors or anything like that. You can also use a primary theme and just maybe change a little bit from it, and you can go from there. So how you would use it is you would download the files from Tooltipster, and you want to place the CSS and the JavaScript elements in your head element. So here we have the main Tooltipster CSS. Then this is the custom CSS that I made, the custom theme. So I added that. Any of your themes that you want to use, you want to make sure you include in your head so it knows where to get it from. Otherwise, you're not going to have your theme working into your file. And then here we have jQuery, which is needed to make Tooltipster work, and then the JavaScript for Tooltipster. So what you would do in your HTML to make your tooltip work is you just add a class of tooltip, or anything. You can name it whatever you want, but I'm just gonna name it tooltip for this one. And then the title, which is gonna be what is inside of the tooltip. So if we hover over here, we see I am the tooltip. But if you notice, it's actually not styled like the ones that we saw before. It doesn't have any of these features. It doesn't have an arrow. It's just a small little tooltip. And that's because we haven't added the JavaScript that's needed to make it work. So in order to do that, you just create a document ready function. Then you call your tooltip, which, like I said, I named it tooltip, class tooltip. So I call the tooltip, and you can change the theme here. If you don't add a theme, it's going to automatically give you the default theme. But here, let's say maybe I wanted punk, so I can change that to punk. But once you have it, this is the working tooltip. So what else can it do? We can also add images. So here, let's look at the code before we see the example. You notice we have something different here. It's a data tooltip content, hashtag demo HTML content, ID images. So I'm calling this paragraph, which is want to see something cute. I'm calling it images in order to use in my JavaScript. And here, this is the tooltip. What's going to be inside of the tooltip, which is the ID of demo HTML content. I can name this anything I want to. I could have named it inside tooltip. I could have named it HTML. Whatever I put this ID as would just be what I'm using to call it here. Now, I want to make sure that I place a div to hide this information. Otherwise, it'll show up on the page. I don't want it to show up on the page. So here I'm hiding the information, and then I'm calling it in my tooltip. So once I hover over, boom, you have the image, you have the text, and that's how you do that there. And it's JavaScript is simple. You just call the paragraph, which I named images, and you just activate tooltipster on it. So really the only difficult part here would be just creating the content for it, which isn't even that hard. Now making a tooltip into a link. I just gave it the name of ID, the ID of linkable, and wow, here's my link, and then the text. I wonder what this does. So wow, look at that. Just click that, you get yourself a link, and it's a full sale page because that's what I have here. It opens up in a new page, so that's what happens there. Now for the JavaScript, I'm setting the content as HTML to true because this isn't just text, this is actual HTML. You have your href, so you want to make sure that that's set to true. Since I want my user to be able to click the link, I want to set it to interactive. And if you notice, it's a little bit different because it actually falls down the page. I added an animation. You can use fade, grow, swing, slide, and I chose fall. And I placed it on the bottom. So that way it gives it that look where it's falling to the bottom of the element. Another thing I can do, instead of hovering, all I have to do is click. And in order to close it, I'm going to press the E key and boom. Or if I wanted to, I can just click again and it closes. Now I give it the ID of click. I add my tooltip title, and it's simple. Nothing has changed there. The only thing is here, we would call it and call activate tooltipster, and we would set the trigger to click. Its default is hover, but since we want to have somebody click it instead, we just change it to click. If you were to not have this second part, you would just need to click it to undo it. But I want to be able to close it with a key press, so the window's listening for a key press, and if it hears it, it's going to take this click and it's going to hide it. And then finally, the last thing that we're going to do is, wow, look at that. You have 4 tooltips on one element. This one is actually simple. I know it kind of maybe looks like it would be difficult. All you would do is you would call your tooltipster and you would set content, which is what's actually going in your tooltips. So I have top here. It says the word top. I set my content. Then I pick the side that I want it to be on, and I can give it a theme. If I leave this blank, it's going to be default. I can give them all different themes. I can give them all the same theme. And just like previous example where we used an animation, I can do that as well. All I would do is add animation, and maybe I wanted the top one to swing in. I do animation swing, and then it comes down and it would swing in however so. But if you notice, this is all the same for each of them. content right, side right, theme, I put shadow. The only difference here is after the first tooltip, you want to set multiple to true because you have multiple tooltips. So that way it's not just overlapping. If we didn't set multiple to true, it would just take the last tooltip that you have and only show the left one. But since here we have multiple true, it's saying, okay, show the top, right, bottom, and the left one. So basically, those are the 3 examples I chose. The reason I chose this is because I think it's fun. I think it's great. If you really wanted to, you could create pop-up menus. You can add images. Maybe you have a lot of content that maybe you think some people won't get, but not everybody. So you want to just add some tooltips so that way you don't have to keep adding extra instructions or take up some space on your page. I think tooltips are fun, and I just think this is a great way to look at them, and it makes it easy for you to do. You really don't have to do that much work. You can style it however you want. You can add animations, and I just love using it. I was going to do Super Scrollorama, but I decided that the animations and transitions between Reveal and Super Scrollorama would be too hard to differentiate between. So I figured that this tooltipster would be a better thing to present than Super Scrollorama. So that's why I chose it, and I hope you enjoyed and took something out of it. Have a great day.